What is up, guys? So with Young Justice officially being back, I wanted to go over the thing that people probably want to see more than anything, and that is Kid Flash, aka Wally West, returning from the dead. In the Season 2 finale of Young Justice, the Flash, Impulse, and Kid Flash were running around the device in order to siphon off its energy so that it doesn't destroy the Earth, so they can destroy the device, and they did successfully do this. But since Kid Flash was slower than Impulse and the Flash, most of the energy was being siphoned off on him, and this killed him. Although we didn't see a body, he just faded away, which led so many people to believing that he is not actually dead. But considering the show was canceled after that episode, he was effectively dead forever. But a couple years later, the show was finally renewed for a third season on the new DC streaming service called DC Universe, and with this third season and any future season after this, there is hope that probably the most beloved character on the show, Kid Flash, aka Wally West, will be returning from his quote-unquote death in Season 2. So I will briefly go over why I think he should come back from the dead and why I think he will, and then go over how I think they should do it. So the reason I think he will come back from the dead, and the reason I don't think they can keep him dead forever, I mean, they definitely can, and that would be much more realistic because, you know, people don't come back from the dead in real life. But in terms of this being a superhero universe, in superhero media, it's a rule that people don't really stay dead forever, especially superheroes. I mean, we didn't actually see a body. That's another rule. If you don't see a body, it's probable that the character isn't actually dead. Even if you do see a body, a dead body, he can still be brought back to life by so many other means. On top of that, he is a Flash, and in the comics, when a Flash dies, he's not most likely dead. He's most likely just stuck in the Speed Force. And on top of that, again, like I said earlier, probably the thing people want to see the most from the season, more than anything, is Wally West coming back from the dead. And even though it would maybe feel a little bit like fan service, it's what people want, and I'm sure they will most likely do just that. So with that in mind, the rest of the video will just be me going over how I think they should bring Wally back from the dead. Now, if I had to guess, I don't think they're going to do this just because I'm going to go over a comic book storyline, and looking at Young Justice, they don't typically adapt comic book storylines. Really, adapting comic book storylines is something they do in the animated DC movies, and everything else like Young Justice, they do their own thing, which I do like for the most part. It is definitely something that makes it more, not more interesting, but it makes it like more original. That's definitely true. So I don't think they're going to do this storyline, but it's possible that they will create an episode or two that is at least inspired by this storyline. And the storyline I'm talking about is a story called The Lightning Saga. This story was a 5-issue crossover event between Justice League of America and Justice Society of America that was released in 2007. In The Lightning Saga, the two teams of Justice League of America and the Justice Society of America investigate multiple mysterious powered individuals scattered throughout this time. These people are revealed to be the Legion of Superheroes members: Starman, Dream Girl, Wildfire, Dawnstar, Sensor Girl, Timberwolf, and Karate Kid. Now you might be thinking that this is a Legion of Superheroes storyline. How does this connect to Wally coming back from the dead? But I'm going to get to that. So something the Legion has done before is resurrect one of their fallen members, Lightning Lad, using something called a lightning rod, which brought back Lightning Lad but also killed something instead of him. In this case, Chameleon Boy's pet, which if you think about it is ridiculous. They basically cured death. They could just replace any one person's life with another person who is dead. They could just, it's ridiculous. But in this story, in the Lightning Saga, the Legion of Superheroes go back in time in order to do the same thing, but this time with the Flash. I'm pretty sure they retconned the whole thing to make it less ridiculous. Maybe the character has something to do with lightning in order for this to work, which makes sense because the Lightning Lad does as well, and the whole thing is called a lightning rod. At this point in time, the Flash had been seemingly killed off in the early 2000s big crossover event Infinite Crisis, not to be confused with Crisis on Infinite Earths, which also killed off a Flash. But it's revealed in this storyline in the Lightning Saga that the Flash isn't actually dead. He's stuck in the Speed Force along with his wife and 2 kids. The Legion of Superheroes uses the lightning rod technique and successfully brings back the Flash from the Speed Force along with his family. Now, this doesn't kill anybody, as its intended target, Karate Kid, completely ducked before he was hit by this massive bolt of lightning that was coming for him, which is a little ridiculous, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. As it turns out, the real reason the Legion came back in time was to get Bart Allen, aka Impulse, out of the Speed Force and store him in the lightning rod. So Bart Allen was actually their intended target to bring back from the Speed Force, but the way the Flash got back was by riding on the lightning that was carrying Bart Allen, and his family and him managed to escape. Now, this would be perfect for Wally to return in Young Justice. This would be a perfect storyline for them to use, as the Flash in this storyline is actually Wally West and not Barry Allen. Barry Allen was also in the Speed Force at this time, so basically the entire Flash family was in the Speed Force at this time, and they also kind of used that excuse to bring basically all three of these characters back from the dead, as Barry Allen was killed off in Crisis on Infinite Earths, which he was dead for a long time, but he came back later. As it turns out, he was just stuck in the Speed Force. Same thing for Wally, and same thing for Bart, but I do think the story would be pretty perfect for Young Justice, as just like in the comics, Wally was killed off, and based off his death in Season 2, he's not really probably dead. He actually disappeared, which is how Flashes usually seemingly die, but it turns out they're just in the Speed Force, so he's probably stuck in the Speed Force. They would obviously have to change some things from the comics. Specifically, Bart Allen is not in the Speed Force at all, so the Legion of Superheroes' main goal should be related to Wally and not Bart. And on top of that, Wally's family is not in the Speed Force, which I think they could make that change and use it to their advantage, as making it so that the Legion of Superheroes go back in time to bring back Wally, but it's not really working until Wally focuses on Artemis as his own personal lightning rod, which brings him out of Speed Force, making the storyline a lot more personal to Wally and probably more emotional as well. On top of that, another thing this storyline would accomplish would be something that the comics were trying to accomplish as well, which is bring the Legion of Superheroes into this universe. In the comics, the Legion of Superheroes were absent for a couple years, and this storyline brought them back. And on Young Justice, as expansive and full as the Young Justice universe is, one thing they have not done yet is introduce the Legion of Superheroes, and this storyline, in my opinion, would be a perfect way to do it. So a big reason I really want to see this storyline in particular in this season is because the Lightning Saga was one of the first comic books I have ever read, or one of the first comic book storylines I have ever read, and it kind of holds some nostalgia for me. As such, I would love to see it portrayed and adapted anywhere, and I think on Young Justice it would be perfect considering the current scenario and circumstances of Wally West. Now, like I said earlier, they're probably not going to do this as they don't typically adapt comic book storylines, but I do think they should make an episode or two inspired by the storyline. It would be a perfect way to bring Wally back from the dead, but I would also be open for them to do something completely original. That would definitely be cool as well. So in the comments down below, let me know what you think about this video, and let me know if you think they should adapt the Lightning Saga storyline into Young Justice, or should they come up with something original to bring Wally back from the dead. Also, do you think the Legion of Superheroes should be introduced into Young Justice ever, and if so, how should they do it? So let me know all your thoughts in the comments, and if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.